Hi, Lisa here from Cool Kids Hub. So today I want to talk about when and how do you transition your newborn or your little one out of their swaddle. So obviously when you have your newborn, sleeping in a swaddle is really good for them. It makes them feel safe and it really helps them to sleep. But there gets a time where being in a swaddle is actually unsafe for your little one. And a lot of parents say, well, when should I transition my baby out of a swaddle and into a sleep sack? And the short answer is the moment you see them either attempting to roll or actually rolling over. Now, when they're newborns, like I said, it's safe for them to be in the swaddle, but the moment they're starting to become more mobile and they're starting to roll over, it's no longer safe because their little arms are pinned next to them. And then if they do flip over onto their tummies, they've got no way of using their hands to flip back onto their backs. Now, typically this happens around the 3 to 4 month mark. However, there are babies older than that who are not yet showing signs of rolling over. And if that's your little one and your little one's happy to still be in a swaddle, then keep them in the swaddle. There's no problem with that. On the flip side, there are some babies as young as 2 months who might start showing those signs of rolling over. And if this is your little one, then you need to transition them out of the swaddle. Now, once you have to make this decision to transition out of the swaddle, your little ones become more mobile, there are really 3 potential methods you could use. So the first method is cold turkey. Now this might sound scary, and the first day will probably be a little bit challenging, but after that your baby will really sleep fine. If you're going to do cold turkey, then I would suggest doing cold turkey for all the naps and bedtime. Don't just cold turkey them and take it away for one nap, but then leave them in it for bedtime. Just take the swaddle away. What you might want to just consider is the last nap of the day. Typically that nap is the most challenging for babies to fall asleep, so you might want to consider for the first day or two maybe doing that nap in the car. That way it'll be easier for your baby to sleep. Obviously you're not doing that forever, you're just doing it for a couple of days until they get used to being out of the swaddle. Now probably the most common and popular method is the arms out. What you would do is you're going to have your baby in the swaddle, but when you put them down for their naps and their bedtime, you actually leave one arm out. Now, a lot of parents do get concerned when they're transitioning babies out of the swaddles. Are they going to sleep, etc.? But we often find babies sleep better when they're out the swaddles because a lot of babies will use their arms to actually self-soothe. So instead of needing a pacifier or being fed to sleep, they'll actually start using their own hands to self-soothe. So don't worry too much or be concerned that your baby, once their arms are out, is not going to sleep well. So you'll take one arm out, you'll leave that one arm out for a couple of days, and then you'll take the second arm out. Obviously, once both arms are out, the swaddle is only going to be around the torso, so make sure that it's nice and tight, because what you don't want to happen is that swaddle to become loose and then become a hazard within the cot. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then the last method, which is probably the least recommended, but some parents do use this method, and that is legs out first. Now, the only reason I don't particularly recommend it is because when babies' legs are free, what they often start doing is they start really moving their legs around a lot in the cot. They'll actually thrash it against the mattress, which often disturbs them. But if you are very concerned that arms out is too much for your baby and you want to start with the legs out, you could try that. It just means you're going to take both legs out but leave the arms swaddled. And then after a couple of days, just take the swaddle away. The other downside to doing legs out first is that often once they've got a little bit of leeway, they start wiggling those little arms and then they're out their swaddles anyway. So like I said, you can try that, but it's probably the least recommended of the 3 methods. Now, once your baby is out of the swaddle, like I said, you'll often find they sleep better. And what you might want to do is if you're concerned that your baby's not going to sleep well, one option is to put them into a sleep sack, but a firmer, I call it like a snuggle sleep sack. So it's like a sleep sack, but it's a little bit tighter. Often they have the little press studs or the Velcro or zips on the side. They feel a little bit more like a swaddle. They're normally a little bit more elasticated, but they are not a swaddle. And then the nice thing is you can actually just unbutton the little arms and then put one arm out and then the other. This can help your baby still to feel like they're in a swaddle whilst you're transitioning them, although they're not actually in a swaddle itself. Now, once your baby's completely out of their swaddles, a lot of parents say, well, what should my baby sleep in? Well, your baby would then sleep in a sleep sack. The baby is still too young to have loose blankets and things like that in the cot, so the best thing is still no other bedding, and you put them in a sleep sack. Now, when you're choosing a sleep sack, look at the TOG, so the thermal overall grading of that particular sleep sack. This will really tell you the thickness of the sleep sack and what temperature it's right for. And this is really going to depend where you live, because some people need the really thick TOG and other people don't. It just depends where you are living in the world. But you'd put your baby in a little onesie, maybe with a vest or a thermal underneath that onesie. Remember, their arms, you need some layering because their arms are out now, and so you don't want them to be cold, but you don't want them to be overheated. So vest or thermal, onesie, and then they're inside their sleep sack. And you do get summer sleep sacks from winter, again depending on where you live. So you just need to I know with my little one we had a couple of sleep sacks for winter, and then we actually had the much lighter ones for summer. But we live in Australia and it gets really hot here in the summer, so depending on where you live. And I will put a link below to a review we did of the best sleep sacks, as well as it's important to remember during this time period where you're transitioning to stick to your normal routine. So like your normal bedtime routine, stick to that. And I will also put a link to a bedtime routine if you don't yet have one in place in the description of this video too. And that's really all there is to transitioning. Remember, it's not about age, it's more about watching for those signs of rolling or attempting to roll or actually rolling over. The moment you see that, you need to transition your baby out of their swaddle, because it's no longer safe for them to sleep in that. That's all. Till next time. Bye.